We're delighted now. A couple of guests. We say a good morning firstly to Sir Richard Dalton, former British ambassador to Iran between 2002 and 2006. Good morning, Sir Richard.
Good morning.
Also, we're delighted to be joined by Dr Mehridad Khonsari, former Iranian diplomat to both the UK and the United Nations, who has been exiled from his homeland since the 1979 revolution. Mehridad, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. Good morning to you. Thank you.
Can I start with you, please, if I can, Sir Richard Dalton? Can we move away, and is it possible to move away from the Donald Trump who says things on so many occasions and people go, oh my God, he's absolutely right about Iran, is he not?
Well, I have more confidence in him if he said such things about other, even worse abusers of human rights. And secondly, if he paid any regard at all to the international legal context, which is that you shouldn't attack another country. You shouldn't commit the world's worst crime of aggression unless you're under threat yourself. And in this case, we simply don't know what he wants to do. It's unlikely that limited airstrikes, which I think is what is on the menu, will remove the regime. It's unlikely that they would only have regime casualties. It's unlikely that the majority in Iran, although Mehrdad will comment on this, actually want political change to be brought about by American aggression against their country.
I'm very interested by that.
And finally, it's difficult to know whether, in fact, there's still a moment to help the demonstrators and protesters, because the gross brutality of the Iranian regime appears in the last 2 days to have got them off the streets because of the levels of unjustified killing.
So, Richard, you talked about there are worse cases of appalling, but you talked about gross brutality. I'm not sticking up for Donald Trump. Isn't it the world that should be saying we want to help free these people? You talk about gross brutality and how difficult it is for these people, but you say that to go into a foreign country is against international law. Don't we as a world want to help these people? Isn't that right and proper and good?
It is. And Iran is under the world's most severe sanctions regime, partly over disagreements over matters like Iran's nuclear program, but also because for years, countries including the UK have wanted to change Iranian policy towards its own people, towards human rights matters, as well as regional issues such as its negative role in so many regional conflicts.
But if that's the case, with respect, can I just jump in? Can I just jump in?
Military operations against states are highly selective.
Of course.
Far worse is happening in Sudan. I don't notice anybody calling for an invasion of Myanmar to stop what happens there to the Rohingya and others. So you've got to apply a very severe test of likely efficacy. If
I could jump in though, Sir Richard, if I could just jump in there and put this to Mehrdad, is not the security of Iran, not the security of Iran in its entirety, a challenge to the security of the West? That's why we're looking at this with such horror and worry. Is that not right, my friend?
I think so. I mean, definitely the security of Iran is an important factor, but I would agree with Sir Richard that military action by itself obviously cannot alter the equation, but there is a lot more that Trump can do. You know, I mean, I will just enumerate a few points where he can help in a way that it could be effective, you know, quite separate from military targeting of key points in Iran. One is I think he's already taken steps in that direction of trying to get the Starlink coverage of internet for Iranian people to be free and to be available. He can jam and disrupt the command and control sector of the military forces in Iran, the security forces who are implementing these terrible policies against the civilians. He can prevent the sale of Iranian oil in the same method as he employed in Venezuela, in weeks that gone by. He can muster international support amongst European allies to have a common policy and a common stand. And he can offer, Iranian opposition figures, not just one or two, but, those that believe in democratic values, a greater support. And he can obviously present a new vision of Iran for the Iranian people of how Iran could be in the post-Khamenei regime. I agree that military strikes, what can they do? We have the example of employing military strikes against Saddam Hussein before the invasion of Iraq. It didn't, the level of aerial attacks against Iraq was quite severe, but it doesn't alter the fact that Saddam remained in power.
I get that point. I just wanted to play to both of you, if I can, and I'll come back to you in a sec, Sir Richard. Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper yesterday made a statement on Iran. If we could just have a listen and a watch of that.
The UK will bring forward legislation to implement full and further sanctions and sectoral measures. The UK has already designated key players in Iran's oil, energy, nuclear and financial systems. Further measures will target finance, energy, transport, software and other significant industries which are advancing Iranian nuclear escalation. And we will work further with the EU and other partners to explore what additional measures might now be needed in response to developments.
Sir Richard, it's interesting taking what you said as well and what we're discussing. I had several texts this morning from saying, we sort of understand it, but what happens afterwards? You touched upon the most stringent sanctions that any country has ever had levelled at it, which haven't done anything about destroying this regime. You listen to Yvette Cooper there saying, we're going to do fuller and further sanctions. Do you believe, as a diplomat with all of your experience, that those sanctions will change what's happening on the ground, which is thousands of people being murdered by a horrendous and heinous regime?
No, it won't. It's not clear what she intends to do.
Yeah.
The whole use of sanctions is so full of problems. It gives states that dislike other states something to do. In some cases, it has a dramatic effect. And in other cases, it has a very long-term effect. And undoubtedly, the weakening of the ability of the Islamic Republic to control its own territory and its own people owes a lot to the long-term sanctions of the United States and others against it. So sanctions now aren't going to affect short-term decision-making in Iran one jot. They may, if the regime survives over several years, contribute even further to its weakening.
Do you believe, both of you, very quickly, and I'd love to have more time, I'll start with you if I can, Sir Richard. Do you believe AN1 Trump will, with or without support, carry out airstrikes to, as he says, help is on the way? Or do you think the rhetoric is more of a warning and the sanctions screw will be turned still further?
All that Trump cares about is, as he says, and is one of his recent on-aircraft press conferences, is a win. He's not going to get a win from airstrikes now, but he has committed his word to the Iranian people and internationally to taking some form of dramatic action. So I am expecting attacks on Iran by the United States.
Sir Richard, thank you. Mehridad Khonsari, just to finish, do you believe that Donald Trump will launch what he says attacks to save these protesters who are being murdered almost on a daily basis, to finally throw this disgusting regime out, or do you think it's rhetoric?
The possibility is that he may sanction some airstrikes, mainly because he would like to prove to people in the United States that, unlike Obama, who set a red line for Syria in 2015 and never followed through, that he is a type of person that follows through with his threats. But what is important and what is key is to have a smooth transition and to prevent Iran from decaying into further chaos in the case that these measures start yielding results, because what all Iranians want to avoid is another Syria kind of a situation developing in Iran as a result of trying to overthrow the current heinous regime.
Great to have you on, my friend. Thank you. Thank you, Sir Richard Dalton, of course, a former British ambassador to Iran. We appreciate you. And Mehridad Khonsari, former Iranian diplomat, who's been exiled from his country since the 1979 revolution.